thing I'd like to do is determine whether we have a quorum. I'll start out with President Elizabeth Barrett Anderson, Chair of the Commission.
Lisa Flores present. Denise Mendiola present.
Polly White Chrysostom not present. However, we do have a quorum of 3. What I'd like to do first is inform the Commission that my reappointment and reconfirmation by the legislature has been approved. I was approved, I believe, on July 10th by the legislature. So I am reconfirmed all the way up to March 31st of 2027. So I am no longer interim chair. I am back into my saddle as chair. I will be chair based on the election of September last year. My tenure as chairman goes up to September 1st of 2024, and subject to another term tenure if so elected. So with that, I will continue now with the meeting as chair of the commission. First thing on the agenda is the open government compliance. You'll notice that we do not have Amanda here anymore. She left the Attorney General's office in May. The position that she was filling for the CICC has not been filled, and in the absence of, I have been working with the staff of the Attorney General's office, and hopefully we will have Amanda's position filled shortly, and this is something that she would, as Pauline did, announce during our meetings. I will do so now. In compliance with the open government law, the first notice of this meeting and agenda was published on September 15th, 2023, and the second notice on September 20th, 2023 in the Guam Daily Post. The meeting and agenda were also published on the Attorney General's website and the GovGuam Public Notices portal on September 21st. The public portion of this meeting is being live streamed on the Attorney General's YouTube channel, and pursuant to the new Public Law 37-40, the closed portion of this meeting to adjudicate victim applications will not be broadcast or open to the public. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes of April 28th, 2023. I distributed the minutes on September 14th to all members. You recall that hearing was primarily to produce the draft legislation, which eventually became Public Law 37-40. We did not have any victim applications or claims at that time because of the conflict between our local open government statute and the federal regulations on protection of victim confidentiality. I hope all members have had an opportunity to go over the minutes. Do you want a few more minutes or to look at it? If no additional time is needed to review, I'll just take a motion.
I move to approve the minutes for the meeting that took place on April 28th, 2023. I second that.
And with that, are there any objections to approval? None. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, the minutes of April 28th, 2023 are approved. Thank you, Mary. We do have a financial report from the Office of the Attorney General's office. It's not on the agenda, but I'll just note that it's in binders so that if you want to, you can review that. Let's get to new business as that's on the agenda. And one of the things that I'd like to do on the new agenda before we go into Commissioner Mendiola's part to tell us how the conference went in Chicago. I'd like to just give notice of communications from the Department of Justice Office of the Inspector General, the audit of the Office of Justice Programs, Victim Compensation Grant awarded to the Guam Office of the Attorney General, which was just published September 20th, which was 2 days ago. And actually yesterday on Guam, 21st of Guam, 20th in the States. Also in your binder is a copy of the Inspector General Audit Report. And what I'd like to try and do, commissioners, is have a working session with the Attorney General so we can sit down with his staff and with the Attorney General to go over the audit, find out how we can improve our efforts as a commission and how to expand the program here on Guam for the benefit of victims of crime. And also to respond or to know how the Attorney General is going to respond to the various concerns raised by the Inspector General, one of which was already taken care of, which is the passage of Public Law 37-40, which I think is one of the most significant concerns in the report. So that's on communications, and we'll let everyone know when we can have a meeting with the Attorney General, a working session to go over that audit. Thank you very much. And with that, report from Commissioner Mendiola regarding the 2023 VOCA National Joint Training Conference.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to just provide a brief summary of my participation at the 2023 VOCA National Joint Training Conference, which took place from August 14th to the 17th this year in Chicago. I attended the conference with Emma Lamb from the Office of the Attorney General, and in particular, I attended and participated the meeting for the National Association of Crime Victim Compensation Boards. I also attended training in workshops such as the compensation programs in rural areas, providing emergency funds to victims of crime, and marketing and branding compensation programs, and bridging the gap between federal funding and grassroots agencies. So I attended several of those, and then in our General Assembly, the OEC did announce that there will be a 41% decrease in VOCA funding for FY24. Emma will be able to probably provide more information in that area at a later date.
And is that 41% based on the prior year's VOCA funding?
Yes.
So 2020, so 41% less than what was received for 2023 for 2020. That's almost 50%.
Correct.
Did the conference express what was the cause for that enormous? I'm sure every state that was there was beside themselves. The cause of it?
Yes, and generally speaking, the cause for the decrease was due to the decrease in funds that are received from federal crimes for corporations. And as that is one of the main sources of funds into that account.
Unless Congress does something to supplement that drop in funds that the Department of Justice receives as judgments against large corporations. Right?
And that has been happening for a long period of time. So it wasn't something that just happened. It's been years in the making, as the representative from the OPC stated at the General Assembly. Unfortunately, they weren't able to share that information. It was a closed meeting, and it wasn't for publication.
I remember reading something for the 2023 formula grant that Congress had to enact a fix in winter time of last year, or else it would have been such a horrific drop in funding, formula funding for all states and territories. It would be nice if Congress does something again this year, because 41% of the territory of Guam is just enormous. And, you know, we're not like California or Texas or any other states that they can perhaps look towards their local government or other foundations that are in their state. You know, this is it. This is what we get.
I think will be affected more severely than the states, because the states already have other sources of funding between the states and the counties. And so I think that's our disadvantage, is that we do not have as much as many resources as the other states. But it is a huge concern, and I believe they did discuss that they do have lobbyists, of course, that are advocating for the funding to remain or to at least reduce the decrease that will be happening.
Lessen the blow.
Lessen the blow. So that's something that we just, it's for our awareness.
Is there some thought, and we don't have to answer the, for sure, but as the Attorney General's office goes into FY25, and by January of 2025, the agencies in the government will start making their budgets. That we know it's going to be 41%, and I don't think the awards come out till maybe June, because 2023 was announced for Guam in June. So I think we better start planning that we try to tap some local funding to supplement where our federal compensation money has been increased. It's a problem.
It will definitely affect the programs and on a lighter note, we did participate in the marketing and branding of the compensation programs. And so we would like to, at a later date, discuss possible planning to be able to market internally and externally our compensation programs.
That's one thing we have not been able to get to. I think we've still been trying to mature as a commission. We've run into some bumps this last year with the open government law and its conflict with the federal statute that delayed our hearing any applications until today. So marketing, and I think that's a great idea. We don't market this program. It's kind of like a best kept secret. And so we need to do that. As a commission, we need to now sit back and I'm glad, Denise, that you went off to the conference, and when you were talking about marketing, I thought, what a great idea, what a great strategy. It takes a lot of effort. It does take a lot of effort. And that means reaching out to other victim organizations within the community to ask how can we join them or how can they join us, or just coming up with some great ideas about how a victim out there can find out how to apply. One of the things we also need to get to is to get our rules and regulations into the Guam, published with the compiler laws, so someone can tap a button and can go into that. So that's what you're talking about, working. Who are we? What do we do? When do we do it? How do we do it? And how can we benefit the victims? Right?
Yes, and in a nutshell, just educating those in the system, our resource partners, and then externally to the community.
And I have to say, Dr. Torres, I'm not going to ask you to do marketing because she knows how to do marketing. This is actually just part of your background at CICC.
Doc's the expert in everything else.
That's true.
I'm doing my part to provide value.
The marketing, the legal, the medical, and probably Mike is just the everything around. Anything else, or any questions about what you might have for Denise? Where's the next conference at next year? Did they say?
No, they're still trying to figure that out,
Oh,
especially after the announcement of the decrease in funding.
it's going to be Washington, D.C., that's for sure. Dr. Denise knows this, but I'm not sure you're aware. Do you know what a formula grant is?
I do not.
Okay. Federal grants are either competitive, meaning you apply along with hundreds of thousands of other people in the nation for a federal grant. A formula grant, which is what we're getting, is based on our population. So formula, what is the total population based on the census? And I don't know what census, they're probably still using the old census, right? Maybe they did. Okay. Maybe that's an automatic. So am I explaining it correctly that a formula grant goes out to all states and territories, and it's based on how big of a population you have there. So we don't have to apply for it. We don't have to do anything. It's there for us to use. But it appears that our formula grant decreased because there's just not enough federal money in it. Sometimes I take it for granted, you know, when you're in the government, you know, formula grant, you know, competitive grant, but I didn't think you knew that one. Thank you. Next on the agenda of new business is the ratification of the Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission's 2016 rules and regulations, and it was placed on the agenda as a ratification. And when I went to review our 2016 rules, I realized that we cannot ratify the 2016 rules because we must update the 2016 rules to comply with Public Law 37-40. So commissioners, I'm actually working on updating the 2016 rules. It will incorporate portions of Public Law 37-40 that protect victim confidentiality. It will be updated to take into consideration our closed meetings. It will update the rules to add the new crimes that we added to the list of 26. And also to add maybe some additional definitions to strengthen it. Every time you look at something, you add something that makes it better. So we will not be ratifying the 2016 rules and regulations. Instead, I would like to work with one of the commission members back and forth on amended rules, get those out for review by all of you so that in November, then we can adopt the new 2023 rules and regulations. After that, we will send it down to the Guam legislature under the administrative adjudication law for promulgation. I did not mention why the 2016 rules are not already published. There was a filing glitch when we sent the 2016 rules down to the legislature. It is supposed to be sent to the legislative secretary. The cover letter was to the speaker of the Guam legislature, which did not technically comply with the administrative adjudication law that says you file it with the legislative secretary, not the speaker. And that may seem like a technicality, but the compiler of laws is absolutely correct. When the law says you do this, and you do that, if you don't do it specifically as the law requires, then it's really not in compliance. So no matter what I tried to do to try to get an opinion or maybe reconsideration of the filing, the compiler of laws was on the law correct, and I agree with her. And as it turned out, maybe for the better, because now we have the new 37 to public law, and we can incorporate those. And we would have had to amend the rules anyway. So now we're going to do it. So all for naught, and we'll get those. I really want to get those published so that it's part of marketing. Marketing. Well, go to the Guam Administrative Rules and Regulations section, article, whatever we are, and it's online, and you can actually be able to see our rules and regulations, see how we operate. But right now, because we don't have those rules online, no one can see us. Okay, so we'll do that for November, and item C is Public Law 37-40. I want to be able to thank all the senators. They voted unanimously. All senators voted in favor of the public law. Commissioner Mendiola, thank you for coming down and testifying with me at the public hearing for the enactment of what was Bill 144. It went very, very well. All the senators that were there and the questions that they were asking were very supportive of protecting the confidentiality of victim information. I'm very comfortable now that everything contained in a victim application is confidential and not open to public disclosure, broadcasting, for FOIA review. So, I want to thank the legislature and of course the governor of Guam. I texted her and I said, thank you for signing it into law. She says, Liz, it was a great piece of legislation. So, you know, it was a no-brainer for her. It was a good piece of legislation, and she was happy to sign that. It is mentioned in the Inspector General report, one of their first items, because one of their main concerns was the publication and YouTube broadcasting of victims' confidential information. They were good enough to indicate in their report that as of the publication of the report, Guam has resolved the conflict between the open government law and federal statutes protecting victim confidentiality. And so the Inspector General indicates that we have resolved that problem. And that was one of the biggest issues that they had. We did it in 90 days. And thank you to everyone who was a part of getting Public Law 37-40 enacted. And as part of 3740, I did want to talk about our continued effort to seek local appropriations. This year, the legislature approved $63,000 or $65,000 for the Criminal Injuries Compensation Commission. $56,000 of that was for a program coordinator strictly from local funding dedicated to the commission. Again, the Attorney General's office is in the process of recruiting to fill that position of a PC1, PC2. As soon as we can get that filled, the better for us, obviously. I do want to mention that we also requested some administrative funds in order to have stationery, to go back on Google email, and I believe the administration of the Attorney General's office, Tom Polino, was working to get that done for us. I don't know, Will, if he's asked you anything on how to get us back on Google Mail, but okay. Well, then you can go and ask Tom, the AG. The judge was asking about that. So really, we want to continue, and I made mention just a few minutes ago that for FY 2024, we should continue to request the Attorney General in his budget to the legislature to have a portion for the Criminal Injuries Compensation Fund. And if we don't use our 2024, then I'd like it to carry over into the next year, and it just piles up. One of the things that I am concerned about, and I don't know to what extent we know the answer to this at this time, which I'm sure we don't, is the Attorney General's office is moving, and which means our program moves, the Criminal Injuries Compensation Program moves with the office. They are scheduled to move to the Bank of Hawaii building sometime in the next couple of weeks. I've asked the staff here at the AG's office to box up all of criminal injuries compensation applications, all our material, wrap it up, indicate confidential and criminal injuries compensation, so that it doesn't get mixed up or merged with Victim Service Center or any other unit or division in the office. So we know where our boxes are, so that once we get a program coordinator, boom, that person takes charge of all our material.
Is there plans at all to scan them and put them in some type of digital form?
Will, does the AG's office do scanning, or do you have any information on that?
I know that there is a digital archiving group that's doing some scanning, but I'm not really too sure it's for like the whole office, but they are doing
The
it.
capability is there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will, Dr. Flores, ask the administration of the Attorney General's office if we could be a part of that, because there is a destruction of government records after a certain point in time. I don't remember, is it 3 to 5 years? But I guess you're concerned about having too many boxes of papers, right?
Yeah. And getting lost in the shuffle, damaged from storms.
And we should comply with the destruction of government documents if they are no longer needed. because I have seen that offices just keep moving trash to trash to trash from one location to another location. Very good point. Maybe we can bring that up if we have a working session with the Attorney General on the scanning processes. Okay, so this is our last meeting in this lovely conference room. We will be somewhere at the Bank of Hawaii building for November. And Will has a big job ahead of him to make sure all the wires are connected and attached so that we can have a hearing on November. We're looking at November 17th, tentative.
Okay.
But I don't think it's going to be as nice as this. Nothing beats this, for sure. Okay. All right, commissioners, is there anything else with regard to the public portion of the agenda that you'd like to put on the record, or any questions that you might have? If not, then to the public that is viewing this and to everyone here, we are now going to adjourn to the closed portion of this hearing. The closed portion will continue to be recorded, but it will not be broadcast on live stream over YouTube. And we will now consider the adjudication of victim cases. All right, thank you very much. And let's take a short recess while